Hey there, I'm Rye Myers, your Broadway and Entertainment BFF, and you're watching Live with Rye. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, listen, before we begin, I have a huge favor to ask of you. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss an episode of Live with Rye. Also, hit that bell button so you get notified every time I go live, post new video, you'll be the first to see it. And also, I love being able to bring you some of the most exciting content with some of the best people in the entertainment and Broadway world, but I can't do it without your help. So if you are so inclined, I'd love if you'd head to ridethenewsguy.com/donate and make a donation of any amount. I think $5 is the minimum, but any amount, $5 or up you want to make, I would so appreciate it. Or you can scan this fancy QR code if you're watching on a desktop or a computer to make a donation as well. You'll also see it scrolling across the bottom of the screen, ridethenewsguy.com/donate throughout the remainder of the show. So you can go there as well in case you missed the beginning part, but would love if you'd consider donating. And with that, help me welcome my very special guest, the incredible Robert Bannon.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy that you're able to do this, and thank you for doing this.
Listen, I've seen the guests you've had. You've had Disney princesses. You've had Broadway stars. I watched your hosting reel. You're with Nathan Lane. You're with Matthew Broderick, and now you're slumming it with me. And I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm so grateful to have you here, and congrats on everything and for doing this. It's not easy.
Thank you so much. I'm quite honored. It's really kind of you. Thank you for watching all of that. I'm not slumming it. I only have the best on here, so I'm happy to be here with you.
I appreciate it. And,
of course.
And we do the same thing. Please donate because I'm going to be the shameless plug for you. It costs money to run StreamYard.
Yes,
it costs money to put this out there. So please support. So there you go.
Yep. Thank you.
Bucks.
I appreciate that. And it's so funny. Thank you for those kind words. It's so funny to have you be on the opposite side of it. Before we get too much into things, you've started running your own live talk show with your directing partner or your co-host Lee, Quarantine Cocktails and Cabaret, over the brunt of quarantine. And you've also had some great people on. You've had some great cast reunions. You've had some big people as well, mister. So don't discount yourself. So it must be nice to sort of be on the opposite end too of StreamYard, It's
very weird. I'm ready to start asking you questions about your life. It's so weird. We started our show in the very beginning of the pandemic in March. We thought it was just going to be us with friends, like just having some fun. And then we did it for a full year every Thursday night. We did it for a full year, and now it's transitioned from Quarantine Cabaret and Cocktails to the Broadway Cast Reunion Series, where we do reunite Broadway casts and we give them out to people who are fans of the cast, as well as performing arts centers around the country to engage their audience so that it can continue to build theater lovers' anticipation for when live art comes back. So it's been a wild ride, something I never anticipated, but I'm having a blast. It's really fun to talk to people.
I bet it looks like you're having a blast every time you are doing it, and that's wonderful. So I'm thrilled.
Same to you. Yes,
thank you. So how did you get started as a performer, and how did that lead to teaching fifth grade, your career that you're now?
Well, firstly, being a teacher is the best practice for performing because you literally have 30 sets of eyeballs on you all day. So you get real comfortable with an audience watching you and judging you every day. I grew up in we were talking before, he's a Jersey guy as well. I grew up in Richfield Park, New Jersey. I was not good at any sports. I was not good at anything that was athletic. All I wanted to do was sing. In sixth grade, I got a karaoke machine, and I told my parents that I wanted to go into musical theater. So they took me to the mall in Paramus. I went to musical theater classes, and I started singing. And from there, the teacher recommended me for the Boys Harbor Conservatory and then to Juilliard Prep. So I was in the first Juilliard class for musical theater students that were still in middle school. It was in sixth grade. Burton Rauser was the director, and I didn't understand that was a big deal because I was 12. And I just went and tried to learn harmony and acting skills, and we created a group there that did performances all around. And I was on that track that I felt like this was the journey I was going to take. I was going to become a professional singer and go into musical theater. And I got really sick with Lyme disease that caused chronic meningitis. So I was homeschooled for 4 years, and it all kind of stopped. So I was working so much as a singer, and I thought that was where my journey was going to take me. And then it just kind of stopped on a dime. So I stopped. That was kind of where the journey ended. And by 18 years old, when I was finally well enough to and better and back at it, I was like, I'm a has-been. It's over. I'm done. So it was a wild journey as a start. But I'm so grateful for that training, as a kid, because I learned so much about professionalism and about just different techniques and stuff being there. It's surreal to think back to those days, for sure. It's a lifetime ago, way before your time.
Wow. Well, I mean, what a career. I mean, that's crazy. And I'm so sorry about, the Lyme disease and that it held you back. But wow.
It all happens in its time, for sure.
That's true. So Unfinished Business, your new album just came out on July 2nd. What has that been like to
I'm like a shameless promotional
I love it. Hold it up again. Let's see. Hold it up again.
There it is.
Look at that.
That's not that much Photoshop, just a little. Like,
I love it. I love that. I love that photo of you. I think it's so great. I love a good black and white photo.
Me too.
I love a good black and white photo. So what has it been like, though, to finally have this out and available for people to listen to and stream? And
well, when I changed careers and became a school teacher, I gave up singing completely. I got my master's degree in educational leadership. I didn't do any performances. I didn't do any acting, nothing. And then a while ago, I was sitting around and I felt like something was missing. I felt like there really was something that I wanted to finish. And I met some friends of mine who were doing a show in New York, and I really said to them, I want to be creative. I want to get back in this. I want to just sing for fun. I never thought it was going to turn into anything. And then that journey led me to doing a one-man show that I called Unfinished Business, because I felt like doing this really was something that I needed to finish for me. I didn't know if anyone was going to like it. I didn't know if it was going to be fun or worthwhile to do, but I felt like I had something to say with my journey that I wanted to finish. So when it took off, we did it in New York. I did it in New Jersey. We had shows in LA. It started to become a thing. I went to acting school. I went back to voice lessons. Like, it was a whole second generation of a journey. I was like, it's time to tackle this finally. Old enough, not scared. I don't care if, I go on an audition and you say no. I don't care if, I finally was grown and mature enough to handle what was to come. So I was doing a show at 54 Below in November before the pandemic. And the saxophone player, Johnny Mercer, said after the show was over, why don't we put out a single? Why don't you record a song? And I said, sure, we'll do one song. And we arranged one song. And then in my head, I was like, well, what am I going to do with one song? I don't like, I'm old school. I mean, no one has a CD player anymore. I don't have a CD player, but I still think like it's something to be said to do an album. So we took on the idea of doing a full album. There's 11 songs on the album. Wow. And we're going into the studio on March 29th to do the album. And COVID obviously was the week before. And the first person I ever heard of that got COVID was the engineer of the studio that we were going to work in. So then it became, are we going to do this or are we not? And we recorded this entire album, all live musicians, strings, horns, the rhythm section, the background singers, everything is completely live. There's no computerized music at all, and everyone did it from home. The pieces were sent to LA to the engineer. He puzzled the whole album together layer by layer, and we released it on July 2nd.
Oh my gosh. I mean, talk about, skill, talk about the power and beauty of technology to be able to do that in a pandemic, to have it recorded virtually, sort of. I mean, it's live, and then sent off, and the engineer puts it together. I mean, that's impressive. Wow. That must have been also difficult too, because, I'm sure you really only got one shot for them to really record it, right? I mean, you're not in the studio, so it's probably, there wasn't a lot of time for you to probably go back and forth and say, let's fix this or fix that, right?
Well, that's why it took a really long time, because it was done literally piece by piece by piece. So it took 16 months from the start of it till the end, when we could have really recorded it in a weekend and it would have been done if we were all together. But what was amazing is there's musicians that have played on it that I've never met. But everyone just put their pieces together and made it perfect on their own. So it was like, if you're the the trumpet player, you just did it until you felt comfortable with it, and we sent it out.
Mhm.
And then they were able to somehow magically, I have no idea how that technology works. It makes it sound like we're all together in the same room, and they literally layered this whole album together. So I'm incredibly proud of it, for not only the musicality of it and the songs that we've put together, and the group of musicians that I have on this that were so grateful to work with me, but we persevered. So I'm grateful that we hung in there, because there were days where I was like, this is never going to come out, but we figured it out for sure.
Wow. Yeah, I bet that has to be that's a real task. It's got to be very daunting. I mean, my hat goes off to you. And the music on there is beautiful. Like I was saying to you earlier, before we went live. I mean, your version of "How Will I Know," Whitney Houston's classic "How Will I Know," so beautiful. It's like a ballad, but it's also like jazz. It's beautiful, beautiful feel, unlike anything I had heard before.
Well, I did the song in in the stage show Unfinished Business, the one-man show. I do the songs that I grew up loving, and I talk about Luther, and I talk about Whitney, and I talk about, and you can't sing, no one should sing Whitney Houston. Like, no one, if you're watching American Idol, just don't. But I did a real stripped down jazzy version of it. It's just piano and a saxophone. It's one of my favorite songs to sing. Because there's such when you listen to the pop record of the 80s, it's upbeat and fun, and you want to dance, and her voice is the greatest ever. And but there's the words to the song are really haunting, and they are really loving and heartfelt. So we tried to make it a real acting piece, and it's not your mom's Great American Songbook album. This is not. I'm not. I don't sing all that jazz. I'm not coming out. There's no. It's not all Sinatra-y. It's definitely my take on. There's a little bit of that, but it's definitely my take on songs, and hopefully like a kind of modernized version.
Well, on speaking of that, I mean, that's a great sort of pivot to the next question: is what was the song selection like for you? And how did you go about choosing them?
Well, if you come see me live, you're going to hear everything from, Barry Manilow to Drake, because I just love music.
It's quite a range.
I'm on a run. When I'm running outside, or if on the treadmill or wherever, so an idea pops in my head, and then I'm just like, well, we're going to do it. So I tried to put little bits and pieces of things that I knew people loved, songs that I loved.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a Whitney cover, obviously, or if there's some fun 70s easy listening songs like This Guy's in Love, which is Burt Bacharach, or The Look of Love, and we do some Sinatra, we do a version of All of Me. It was really just songs that I loved, and I tried to tell my story, which in a musical sense. So there is a kind of a flow that I hope goes through it. And if you watch there's a documentary live concert that you can watch on robertbannon.com. Here I go, shamelessly promoting myself. But if you go to robertbannon.com, hey, this guy is good. If you go to robertbannon.com, it's on demand all week. It's literally it's a documentary about how we made the album, along with my own story. So you literally see me the day the studio closes. You see me picking songs. You see me recording. You see me setting up home recording equipment in my house and not having any clue what to do. So we just took pieces of it as time went on, and they're all just songs that mean something to me that I just like. There's no rhyme or reason to anything I do ever.
That's amazing. I love it. Well, yeah, check that check that out for sure. Check out his his documentary.
That's cry, really cool. And you're gonna laugh, and it's just gonna give you all of the emotions, and break your heart and make it art. That's what I learned in acting school. So I'm just trying to tell my truth and get it out there, so that hopefully it helps someone. The whole point of Unfinished Business, if I can say that, the mantra, the theme,
of course,
is that everyone has something that they're scared to do. I was terrified of going back on stage. I was terrified of singing. I was terrified of the rejection and the judgment that is the performing arts world. But everyone out there, if it's to learn a language, to go on a diet, to take a cooking class, to start a business, there's something that calls you. And I think we learned this past year, not to be super cheesy, but nothing is guaranteed, and things can change on a dime. So we don't have the luxury of saying always, well, I'll get to it one day. So I just think now's the time to do it. So one step at a time leads you to a whole path. And then I'm talking to you, and we have an album out that you can buy and listen to wherever music is sold.
Yeah. Well, you're right. You're certainly right about that, about not taking anything for granted. And, that is like the epitome of of the year. That's like the mantra of the year. I agree for sure.
For sure.
Where did the inspiration come from to write I Think He Knew? Was it based on your personal experience? And what do you hope a parent of a gay child can learn from it? This was a beautiful single. I mean, I know like Broadway World picked it up. It made its rounds on the internet. It got picked up on, I believe, also the few LGBT sites. It's a beautiful video. Where did the idea come from?
That's a great question. Well, Matt Gould and Griffin Matthews wrote Whitney Houston. And Matt Gould is the composer of Lempicka, which hopefully will be at Broadway, and it's stunning. And Griffin
Such
Matthews,
a good show.
It's a great show.
Oh.
He's brilliant. And Griffin Matthews is on Flight Attendant on HBO Max.
Yes, he's wonderful.
He's a trip. Well, I saw their show Invisible Thread at Second Stage while I was in the middle of getting divorced. Because believe it or not, I was married to a woman at a time. I'll give you you get this full scoop, because he went to the same college as me. He went to, so you get the real story.
He did. He went to the same college.
We did. We went to the same college. So shout out to William Patterson in Wayne, New Jersey.
Yes.
Yep.
we are pioneers here.
We were married and together for 16 years, and I got divorced, and I wasn't out, and I spent 3 years really on my own personal journey. And in that journey of trying to figure it, with lots of therapy and lots of help and support, I would go to the city, and I would go have dinner by myself, and I'd go to TDF, and I would go see a show. And it was just my own personal weekly, like, I'm by myself, I have to figure out what I want, and I'm trying to figure out who I am. And I went to TDF, and they had Invisible Thread, which is now Witness Uganda. And I knew nothing about the show, but I went because it was the cheapest ticket on the board. And after the show was over, I was so moved by their music and the uplifting spirit of the show that I tweeted Griffin, and never tweeted anyone before. And I just said, I want to be a part of something that you created. And he tweeted me back, and he said, it's not about dreaming it, it's about doing something about it. And I just said to them, who do you go to for voice lessons? Because I want to sing. And a week later, Matt and me started making Unfinished Business. So Matt Gould and Griffin Matthews are kind of the people I give full credit to for getting me back in the habit of this whole world, because they saw something and took something that I was able, just in this vulnerable space, and said, you probably have something you want to share. So I'm forever grateful to them. I spent a year with Matt coming up with song ideas and building a book and doing audition techniques and trying to figure out where I fit in this crazy showbiz world. And I went to a workshop that they did of a show called Family Project, and they debuted this song. And everyone cried. And I wasn't out yet. Mm-hmm. And I heard the song, and I was a mess about a father and a son. And it's Griffin Matthews' story about him and his father.
Okay.
And what ended up happening is, when I came out, I told my parents, and then I did a show in New Jersey on my father's birthday, and I just decided to stick the song in the set list with no introduction, with nothing. I just sung the song, and the song ended, and it was dead silent. And if you don't know the story about the song, it's literally about a son who's in right field picking flowers instead of playing baseball, and his father accepts him but questions him, and they have this moment where they come to a confrontation about it, and all, long story short, spoiler alert, all is well in the end. So I sung the song, and it was silent, and my dad just yelled, "I love you, son," and they stood, and everyone cried. And it was not the normal, kind of coming out story. So many people have such difficult experiences. And so before I sing the song, I dedicate it to everyone whose families don't support them. And hopefully they find their own community, and they will find their own community, because there's so many people out there who support and love you for who you are, because you're perfect and beautiful the way you're created. So, so long story short, I wanted it on the album, but I wanted it on the album, but I didn't write it. So I asked Matt and Griff, and they gave it to me. They gave it to me and let me record it. So we shot the video. Kyle Ball directed the video, and it was my friends and family in the video, and we put it out, and the response has been insane. I have gotten so many messages from dads and moms and kids and people who have just been moved. Came out for the beginning of Pride, and it was through Father's Day, and there's been lots of parents. And the most moving thing that I get is when people tell me that they had a brother or a sister who never was able to be who they were, and they're gone, and they wish that they could tell their story. So it's been really overwhelming, because it is really something that, for someone who came out so much later in life, it has been. I never thought that it would be that I would be someone that people would come to for my advice, because I sometimes feel like I didn't fight the fight at a young age. There's a journey, and everyone's journey is so different. So it's my favorite song on the whole album, because it is the one that relates the most to me, and I'm just so honored to be able to sing it.
Well, I mean, that is just beautiful, and that warms my heart. The story that you told of you singing it, and your dad shouting that he loved you, and I mean, just beautiful. And I'm glad you had that experience. Yes, as you said, a lot of people are not as fortunate, and I mean, kudos to Griffin for giving you that song. It was, I mean, what you said, what he said in the beginning about it's not about dreaming, it's about doing. I mean, that gave me goosebumps when you said it.
It changed my life. It changed my life, and without them, I wouldn't have my own artistic. I think that people ask me what can you do to be in this business, if whatever that world means to you, finding a community of people to lean on, because it's so hard and it feels so lonely sometimes, and sometimes you're doing all this work and you don't know if anyone really cares, but having a group of people around you who really believe in you and support you and your own artistic community is important. So when people ask me, especially students, like, how did you find these people? How do you get guests for your show? How do you, all of the questions that I'm sure people ask you as well, just finding your people in a community and sticking out and being, they are my people. They're like family to me now. So I'm incredibly grateful. So you never, ask and you shall receive. If someone is out there, you may not get a response, but if there's something that really moves you, it doesn't hurt to just say, hey, I really loved your work. And you never know.
You are 100% right about that. There's been so many times where that's happened with me. I, reach out and, and that sort of then happens from there, whether it's a conversation about coming on the show, we're interviewing them or whatnot, or, I mean, so that is so true. And both, Griffin and Matt, right? Yeah. Are both so talented, and Lampika, especially, that's going to be, that was one of the last few readings I went to before quarantine hit. And
did you see it with Eden and
yes,
I was there.
Were you?
We friends? We sat together.
Oh my gosh, I was with my boss. We loved it. It was so good. It was just beautiful.
Well, it was at Williamstown, and I saw it there, and I saw readings, and then I saw the last reading. It was supposed to go to La Jolla. It was supposed to come to Broadway, and then COVID hit. But I mean, Eden Espinosa is a tour de force. It's quite a story, and they wrote one hell of a score for that show. So
you got that right, and I mean, it's gonna be. I cannot wait for it to come to even to La Jolla. So it's gonna be great. Where did the inspiration come from for you to write the new single? I think he knew you. I mean, I know you said it was from Matt and Griffin, but where did that inspiration come from?
Well, I know that the story goes that it was very similar to his coming out story for his father. I felt that it was time to really live authentically in my truth publicly. Even as a school teacher, it's kind of a tricky subject because people said it's out in the world. My kids follow me on YouTube and but I think about it, and the kind of the idea to be more public about it and have a voice about it was truly when students have come out to me over time. And a lot of students have come out to me without the support of their parents. And they come to me and they say, my parents don't understand me. I tell them that I'm gay and they don't accept who I am. They think it's a phase. And I was like, these kids are so brave to come out to their parents at 13, 14 years old. I feel honored to be a safe space. So I kind of, in solidarity, feel like it was time for me to really take the bull by the horns and to become as much of a voice as my little platform could be. Even with Quarantine Cabaret and Cocktails and the Broadway Cast Reunion Series, Lee and I, he has his partner and I have my partner, and I hope that there's people out there, representation really matters. So I hope that me being outspoken about it and having a song and making the video shows somebody the possibility that you can be loved and accepted no matter what you are. So it was really important for me to put that out and to handle it as carefully and as I could.
Well, I'm thrilled that you put it out there, and it is helping so many. We'll get to quarantine cabaret and cocktails later on for sure. But I wanted to ask you, sort of switching gears a little bit, how did this stint on SNL come about? As a performer on there, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was at my mom's house one night, and I was having dinner at her house, and I was just hanging around when I got an email from an NBC casting director who said, "Can you send a picture?" And I was like, this is some crazy spam. Like, you're going to ask me for $1 million. Like, I was waiting for the whole, where's the gimmick? Where's the hook?
Right.
So I Googled her name, and it said on LinkedIn that she worked there. So I emailed her back, and I sent a picture, a current picture. And she said, "I'm sorry, we can't use you because we're looking for someone with blonde hair and blue eyes, but their head needs to be shaved." And I was like, wait, is this really Saturday Night Live? And she sent me a cell phone number. So I texted her, and she said, "Yeah, it's really Saturday Night Live. There's a pre-tape tomorrow, and we need someone to resemble a skinhead look." It was during the Trump administration when the TSA was not allowing people in from certain countries. And so everyone that was a person of color around me gets held back at the TSA line. But me, with my blonde hair and blue eyes, holding a big giant gun in a garbage bag, gets put through the line. So I said to her, "I will go to the Supercuts in Fort Lee, New Jersey on Lemoyne Avenue around the corner from my mom's house, and I will shave my head if you let me be on Saturday Night Live." And she was like, "Are you sure?" And I said, "I've been watching this show since I'm a little kid. I would be honored to be anything on that show." So they agreed to hire me, and I went around the corner and shaved my head. And then I pre-taped that episode, and then they remembered me, and I just asked them, asking for what you want in the most polite, not crazy stalkerish way, just saying if there's ever the opportunity to work on the live show, I just would want to be there in that energy, one time. And I've gotten to do, I don't know, I think it's up to 22 episodes, for anything from background work to anything to principal work, where I've gotten to work with the cast and with the guest hosts in some fun stuff. So it's been the most surreal opportunity for sure.
That is so surreal. I mean, especially, I knew that a lot of the actors on there were backgrounds. I mean, a lot of the non-cast members, but I didn't know they also did principal work for non-cast members as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's firstly, it's the best background gig in the world because it's live. So you don't have to be there. You're there a long day, but it's not like I'm, Law and Order man in the stand number 28. It's and they don't have a ton of people on, and they treat you really nice, and it's cool. It's a cool job because you can see it instantly at 11:30, Eastern time on NBC. So they have bumped people up rarely, and that was an amazing opportunity to be. The first time I was bumped up to principal was for a sketch called Electric Shoes, where we were choreographed, and I played fake bass, and it was with Keenan and Sandra Oh, and it was live, and the residual checks still come, thank you God. So it was surreal. I mean, that if you watch that sketch, it's called Electric Shoes. I have like this wig, long like bob haircut, and I never in my wildest dreams. So thank you to everyone that's over there for letting me do this over the years. It's been 3 or 4 seasons. COVID, they kept us a crew of people during COVID that were tested regularly, that they kind of had together. So I only worked on the show once through COVID, but I'm just once is more than enough. Never mind.
That is very special. Who was your favorite your cast member while you were on there, and also favorite host as well that you got to work with?
Well, I think that Keenan is so sweet. He's really sweet. I've seen him stop and talk to the kids, take pictures with the kids. He's always says hello. He's always just a chill, down to earth, nice guy. So we got to work really closely with him when we did Electric Shoes, and he was just so sweet, and he remembers people. He's just a good guy. And my favorite host, what was really interesting? Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, was on the sketch that I worked with. There was only 2 of us and her, and it was Leslie Jones and Keenan, and it was and they cut the sketch before the 11:30 show. but she was 85 feet tall, and she walked right up to you and was just like, "Hi, I'm Gail," shook your hand, and was so sweet and kind that I'm always amazed because, you know, we make movie stars are like larger than life, really, right? So it's
Yeah.
like to see them be a person, like taking a lunch break, like just
Right.
hanging out, texting on their cell phone is crazy. So
And she's that tall. She's really
she's
tall.
super tall and
Wow.
super sweet, not like Scarlett Johansson, who's super short and super nasty.
Oh.
That's
I was gonna say, have you had run-ins with her on the show? I guess.
she was on the show as well. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Very.
Especially because her husband's on the show now. Hopefully, is their husband nice? I mean,
Now
Colin.
I'll definitely be never asked back. No, he's quiet, but she was not, she wasn't really.
Yeah, that's all you have to say. We're not going to go further into it. We don't talk about drama here, but all I will say is that's a shame. You know, I always wish everybody.
Hey, everyone has a bad day, so
exactly, that's true too. But I do know. Hey, that's true. You know, I that's true. I like Colin Jost. I think
me too.
I think he's handsome. All the cast there are so talented. I don't know how they do it. I mean, really. But I do know the background life kind of well. My first job out of school was actually working as a background casting assistant for a large background casting office, which I'm sure you can guess is probably the largest one out there. That's always mentioned. I mean, I don't work there, so I can say it, but I worked at Central Casting, you know, straight out of Central Casting. And so it's interesting when you say that about, you know, the times and everything. I never was on set like that early. I never had to be a background actor, but I know what you're talking about. So that's great that you know, weren't subjected to those torturous morning hours or long.
No, I stopped. Divalicious Robert that I am in third person and all. I stopped doing pre-tapes at SNL. It was my dad's birthday. We had tickets to see A Bronx Tale. We had dinner at a steakhouse in New York. And I thought, well, my call time was 8 a.m. So I was like, I'll be done and I'll be able to meet you guys for dinner and the show. Well, we kept going through dinner and then I missed the show. And it was till 3 a.m. in the morning in Times Square in the middle of February. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do these. And, you know, people in that world that are working as background actors, that's big money because it's union. And you know, you get to that golden hour where you've done your 12 hours and you're making, you know, you
want to
work those out. Yeah.
And if you're union, it's that's what we've always said. If you're union, it's gold for you, because I was surprised with how many actors did this as a job. I mean, they went from background gig to background gig, gig. Don't know how they did it. God bless them. Because it was, I mean, even just working behind the scenes of it, I didn't know how anyone did it. But it is amazing. You know, if you are willing to put up with all of that extra stuff, you know, and you get, you know, continuous gigs, there are background actors who have made their living off of that.
Absolutely. Sure. And they're on set and they could be moved to, you know, core background and they get their daily, you know, they're there every day. And I give SNL all the credit in the world. You know, I joined SAG because of SNL.
Wow.
They were the ones that gave me my card and all of that stuff. So I'm really I'm really grateful for them.
That's wonderful. Well, sort of going back to what we said earlier about your show, how did Quarantine Cabaret and Cocktails get started and become what it is today with the Broadway cast reunion? It's sort of like what we're doing now with Live with Rye. It's a live show, but obviously with Broadway cast members. So
yes, which is very similar to your yeah, absolutely. We well, when I did that, it all kind of happened in this weird, bizarre, as all of this story, you know, the Matt and Griff story and the SNL story, it's like all like, I don't know, magic. I have no idea. Just gratitude, grateful for it all to happen. When I did that show at 54 Below, and we talked about doing that single, Jimmy, who plays saxophone, asked his friend who played guitar, and his friend who played guitar said, hey, I know this guy who owns a cabaret/Broadway record label called LML Music in LA, and he would love Robert's show. So they introduced me to Lee Lessick, and Lee Lessick he owns LML Music. He owns LML Music Presents. He's the booking agent for Cheetah Rivera and Shoshana and Mandy Gonzalez and Adam Jacobs and all of this stuff, and puts out albums for Lea Salonga and all of these people. So I said, he would take a phone call with me. So we had a phone call and he was like, I know the guy who's arranging your album. I think your album was going to be great. I watched your videos, do your album and you could put it out through my label. And that for me, it was just, it would get distribution, so it would be seen in a way that was easier, and it would be on Amazon and etc. Well, March came, and he was in the middle of a concert tour because he's also a singer.
Mhm.
And I saw on Facebook that he was flying back on an airplane in the scary days where we really were so petrified and everything was shut and schools were shut, everything was shut. And he was
Right.
the only person I saw that was really traveling. So I sent him a text and just said, I hope you made it home to LA safely. And he said, I did. And we exchanged texts back and forth. And he said to me, how about we FaceTime? Me and my partner are going to have cocktails outside in LA, and we would like to chat. So we FaceTimed on a Monday, and we just talked and laughed and talked about our lives. And we did the same on Tuesday and Wednesday. And we did it every day for a week because we were all isolated and at home. It was really just divine timing. Like, it was just, I don't know. So he came up with the idea and said, do you want to host a virtual show? And he was like, we don't know how things are going to work with, we're not going to have anyone sing. We're just going to talk, because he's in the record business. So he's like, I don't want to deal with licensing, and I don't know what songs, and I don't know what to do.
Right.
So let's just have people talk. So we reached out to our friends, and the early episodes, we had no idea what we were doing. But we were persistent, and we just kept trying to be better. And we built, like, all of the graphics you have, like the first show we did had nothing, and then we just started to grow more and learn more about StreamYard and about displays and graphics and an introduction and all blah blah. And we just stayed at it, and more people came on, and more people watched. And then it is a lot of work to produce a show.
That's an understatement. Yeah.
It's a full-time job. And I saw how much you promote and how much graphic design you do. And I did the same. Like, we ran all the social media, and we would do all of we would pull all the information we needed, and we would set up it is a full-time job.
Yeah.
So after a year of having some of them, I'm a fan at first, so I was just excited to sit and talk to everyone.
Right.
That we started to, someone that runs a performing arts center said, I think you guys are onto something when you have a reunion. Our first reunion we ever did was the Mrs Doubtfire Cast. They never made their premiere on Broadway. Right. We had Jake Ryan Flynn on, who's playing the son in the show, and then his mom was like, we could ask the rest of the cast to come on and say hi. And before you know it, Brad and Jen and Rob and all the Avery and Annalise, all the principal cast came on. It was never our intention to ever do that, ever. It just was a fluke thing, and people liked it. And so then we started to ask people when they came on, do you want to reunite with anyone that you've worked with? And we stopped doing our weekly show. So steal the idea and run, Rye, go. And we just, so then it turned into a show now that we do twice a month, where we reunite a Broadway cast, and it's with the intentions of promoting the tour. So they're all Broadway tours. So, so we've done a bunch of them. We've done Dear Evan Hansen and Hadestown. And
you've done so many. You have literally done so many. I've been so, in a good way, I've been so jealous. Like, you've got so many. And I say that because I was trying for a bit to do, reunions when everyone else was doing them. And I never quite, understand. And again, a learning process. And this is another thing about this last year. It's been a learning process for everyone. Then that's sort of been a learning process where I was like, I almost had it in March. I was going to do it was an Andrew Lloyd Webber sort of birthday special. I was going to have two people from Phantom come on, and just timing didn't work out. But I had wanted to sort of do some reunions, especially as we started to see some really like some rarities happen. Stars in the House were starting to do some like reunions from like shows and so I got thinking about it. But I figured you had people booking the guests for you, because I was like, that's got to be so hard to coordinate schedules and get everyone on and figure it out. And so, but that is something that I wish I had done. So I commend you for it. I think
well, now I can say this. Originally, like when we did the Sideshow reunion and we had, the Alice Ripley and Emily Skinner and Norm Lewis and whatever, when we did that, all of those reunions, the Falsettos tour reunion, speaking of Eden, or when we did the Frozen reunion that was on our weekly show, we booked them ourselves. Like we literally just reached out to people and asked people to ask people and just tried to book it ourselves. Yeah. I can't take full credit for the Broadway Cast reunion series. For us to be able to have performing arts centers involved that are presenting the tours, and for us to be able to now make it a ticketed event, because we pay Broadway actors to come on the show. So it's become like a thing. So now we have to ask publicists and we have to ask producers, and it's like Lee's full-time job is in the promoting and booking of concerts. So it's like his world. I don't know any of this.
And
So
it's
it's
tough.
like we have to talk to Disney on Broadway. I'm not talking to Disney. You talk to Disney on Broadway. I can't have that conference call. I'll say something ridiculous. So I'm along for the ride. So I give Lee a lot of credit. And if you look on the back of the album, Lee produced this album. So Lee has really become like, if there's Matt and Griff and there's Lee. So I can't do it without Lee. I'm really grateful for him. I said to him the other day, you could have sat next to anybody to do this weekly show, and he chose me. So I'm really grateful to him. So
yeah, that is really special. I mean, and you're right with with the booking. I mean, here comes the bureaucracy.
Yes.
Start to get things back on the road and shows back up. This was, I have to say, it was one of the, and if Lee may be able to attest to this, but you may be able to. This was one of the great things about quarantine was you could reach out to so and so directly, or you could, reach out to the friend of a friend. Now the bureaucracy is back. The one thing I could probably spend the whole episode talking about, where it's, well, how many followers do you have, and is this and and dealing with publicists and dealing with, Disney on Broadway and stuff like that, and the never-ending cycle of,
Well, that was the greatest part, is that I would just spend my days while Lee would deal with his contacts and try to make things happen. I would spend my days thinking about who do I want to talk to, and then I would try to reach out to them. And sometimes you wouldn't get an answer, and you may have to ask 50 people to get one person to say yes.
Yeah.
But I love Broadway, obviously, and I've been so lucky as you are to talk to so many people on Broadway and have friends that are on Broadway, etc., which is so surreal to this kid who just grew up loving musical theater. But I love music. Like, I'm a concert junkie. So I started to reach out to artists that were just people's voices that I loved to hear. And we did, we had the 20 Feet from Stardom, the documentary that won the Oscar. We had Darlene Love and Lisa Fisher and Judith Hill on the show just because I wanted to talk to them. And again, just asking people. And
exactly.
If they say no, that's fine. But, maybe they'll say yes. It was the time, though, like you said, like now people are on the road again and people are getting ready to work. But back, 6 months ago, a year ago, everyone was sitting home. So
I know, and that's been the exciting thing. Not to get too much into it, but that's been the exciting thing. At the end of July, I'm going on hiatus for a month to sort of end season 2, and as we return in season 3 in the fall, it's like, well, digital is so great, but now things will be back, so you could talk to people in person.
Now you can.
Then it's back, but then it's back to like dealing with the publicist and dealing with the manager and dealing with the agent of the so and so to talk to so and so because now they're in this show and now the bureaucracy's back. It's like,
I get it. It's a battle. I hope you can take a good break, and I know you'll come back in September with an amazing lineup of people for sure.
Oh, I hope so. It's going to be good. But I can't commend enough what you've done with the series. I think it's great. It's beautiful. It's inspired so many. And I'm just so happy that you've turned it in now to a ticketed event. I mean, what have you learned about yourself during the series? And I know this is a hard question, but who's been your favorite guest?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, firstly, I can tell you that our next 2 reunions are going to be, we haven't announced the date, but we have talked about them there. It will be Waitress in Chicago. And we're going to do our 12th, and then we're going to also take a break and then come back in the fall as well when things are back open. So then we can start talking to the tour casts, hopefully. So that's my little inside scoop for you. But what have I learned the most about doing the show? It always comes back to fear with me. I was so afraid to have a point of view. I have learned that when we were all in the middle of the pandemic and everyone was home looking to make a connection, and you had a Tony winner or an Emmy winner or a Grammy winner or someone who was a celebrity, quote unquote, on the show, what I think that the past year showed me is that we're all human, and it humanized a lot of people, especially when they're in their house and you hear their kids in the background and they're trying to make it through the pandemic just like everyone else, is that we're all just people trying to figure it out. When I first told Matt Gould going back that I was too scared to be in this business because what if I ever got hired and there were people that were professionals and who am I? Matt said, trust me, when you're in a room with these people that you've looked up to your whole life, they're just trying to figure it out just like you are. We're all just people. Uh-huh. So I try to remember that because we could be so easily intimidated by people who have done what we've dreamed of doing our whole lives. So I think that's really taught me is that when you hear them off screen, like when we said hello before we came live, like there were moments where I'd be like, oh, they just had dinner and they have their kids in bed. And like, it really showed that we're all just people trying to make it. My favorite guests. I'm the biggest Shoshana Bean. I live for her.
Yeah.
She came on Christmas Eve show, and so I loved her. I sung. We had Michael Orland from American Idol on, and we had Cheetah Rivera, and he played, and she sung some of Chicago. And like those are moments where I just was like, what the hell is going on in my life? So I have to give them both big shout outs. I think that those two for sure are my personal favorites. And I love Lisa Fisher. I'm seeing her at Birdland. She's doing a tour, and I think she's one of the greatest voices ever. So I loved having her on because I would listen to her sing the phone book.
That's great. Well, those are some great guests. I love that. I love that answer. What are some of the shows you have coming up for your album? You know, I know you mentioned you'll be at 54 Below. What are some shows you have coming up?
I will be at 54 Below on July 30th with a full band. I haven't announced that, but I'll tell you, Crystalline Lloyd from Dear Evan Hansen is going to come and sing with me.
Wow.
We will be live. We have a band that's too big to fit on that stage for sure. So if you want to come hear the album and catch it, it's July 30th. It's the 9:30. Well, now they say it's 9:45, but the latest show, you can come and catch us downstairs at 54 Below. If you're a West Coast person, I'll be at Feinstein's in LA on July 21st. And Michael Orland of American Idol and fame is playing piano, and Loren Smith and Lauren Batley will be joining me as special guests as that. They are on the road with Michael Bublé right now. They are singers that are out of this. If you want to hear someone sing, listen to Loren Smith. He sings with me on this CD. It's called the R&B Medley. It's a duet that we've done. He has the greatest voice. He's the eighth wonder of the vocal world. So he'll be live with me in LA. So if you're in LA, come see me. And if you're in New York, come see me. And if you're anywhere else, I'll come to your house, whatever you need. I'll sing on your porch, your backyard, the 7-Eleven, the bagel store, wherever you need me to be, I'll break into song.
Yeah. If you're not where you're going to be, request you to come, and you'll come to the venue.
Absolutely. And if you're someone who loves CDs, please, we were embarrassment of riches. We were the #1 new adult contemporary release for 3 weeks on Amazon until Olivia Rodrigo released her CD, and then her and that driver's license song knocked me to #2. So how dare she? How dare she sing that song about that man? So we're now #2. So the more copies you purchase, the more chance we have to be #1, and you can stream it. And I hope you enjoy it. It means a lot to me that someone would take a moment to listen to my music.
It's amazing. Well, I hope to make it to the 54 Below show. In fact, it's funny. That's the night before my first show that I'm producing. My show I'm producing is on July 31st. So
wait, tell me about it. What is it? Where? When? How?
Yeah, so it's at the Triad Theater on July 31st. I'll do a shameless plug. I'm producing my first project under my new production company, Rye Entertainment, which as of this weekend is officially an LLC.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The Parts I Keep Inside. It's a new song cycle by composer Jeffrey Schmelkin, and it explores the virtues of the human conditions through the experiences of the composer. So we explore themes of vulnerability, sincerity, embarrassment, in an effort to discover the truths that unite us all. So it's Saturday, July 31st at 7 p.m. at Triad Theater, and tickets are now on sale. And hope that you can.
Look, I'm old school. I'm old, right?
I love it.
Me. Look, we're going to put it right here. We're going to put the Triad at 7.
Oh my God.
I want to come see it.
Please do. Please do. That would be wonderful. And anybody watching, you can go to the triad.com to get tickets. But thank you. Yeah, so that's exciting.
I filmed my album release at the Triad, and my first ever unfinished business was at the Triad. It's good luck. The Triad is good luck. You watch. It's gonna go places after that. I've
heard such great things, and they are so. Shout out to the Triad. And they've been very, very nice and so exciting. And that's as a first-time producer, that's exciting to have.
They're good people. Peter at the Triad and everyone that talks at the Triad. I think that it's the coolest space. No offense to everywhere else that pays me to perform at, but I love the space at the Triad.
Yes,
there's a balcony.
There is, and pending what other venues do, as if these venues continue what they currently have in store, the Triad, our show will be one of the only off-Broadway cabaret venues, which will be at full capacity and 100%, no weird ticket restrictions. You can buy a ticket, 100% capacity. Come. So unless some of these other venues do change between now and July 31st, we're thrilled to say that that's one of the beautiful things about the Triad is
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's big stuff.
Yeah. So I didn't, but I didn't mean to, get off on.
No, but I was one of the people, I got the opportunity to invest and watch my friend produce The Inheritance on Broadway. And I was so proud of him for taking the leap to be a producer, because I think that there's so many jobs in entertainment that go behind the scenes that create, when we talk about equity and visualization and opportunities for people of color and genders and different sexualities and et cetera, it requires people that are forefront thinking, who are willing to take a leap to put up shows that are new. Because I don't know about you, but I'm tired. I love everyone that's on Broadway, but I don't need to see, every movie made into a musical. I don't need to see the same people. I want to hear new voices that are exciting. And a lot of times, for me, the stuff that I saw off Broadway before the pandemic happened is the stuff that really moved me. If it was Slave Play, if it was Strange Loop, if it was something that really moved me, that happened off Broadway that I thought was amazing. So I'm excited for you to put something new out there, and let's see where it goes.
Well, I'm very excited as well. And the composer who wrote this, Jeffrey Schmelkin, is just an incredible human. He's just recently a college graduate and has already written 2 musicals and won awards. And so I'm thrilled to be that he's trusted me to take on this endeavor. But I like you even more. I've always liked you, but I like you even more that you said about The Inheritance. That show changed my life. I would have seen it both times, a full 3 times, had COVID not hit. I had tickets for closing night, but I saw it. I mean, I was obsessed with that show. I would have gone more than 3 times if I had the chance. I don't normally do signed posters at the stage door. Sometimes I'll do a playbill, but with that show, I bought a poster. I had the cast sign it the night I went. Matthew Lopez was there. I didn't sign it. I got the script too, because I had read the script a year prior before it came to Broadway, and I just devoured it. I mean, I went through it so quick. It was so good, and I couldn't wait to see it. And I had Matthew sign the script, and I spoke with him. That show changed my life, and it's a shame that it is not going to be returning. Yeah. It is a show I think everyone needs to see. I'm excited to see what comes of it in the future. But I love that you had a little part of that.
If I can tell you real quick about that, what happened, to tell you the real quick journey about that, because I never get to tell this story, and you're a Broadway Nista kind of person, so I need to tell this quick story. When I was going back to, it all stems from Matt and Griff. When I was going back to Matt and Griff, I was trying to lose weight. I had lost a bunch of weight, trying to be in shape for this world. And I was going to this company called Core Rhythm Fitness. It's CRF. Roger Covington runs it. Roger Covington is a Broadway star in his own right. And Adam Hindman, who was then in Aladdin and then went on to and also on Once on This Island. And he's married to Brad Gibson, who is Simba in The Lion King. Adam was the assistant to Roderick back then, was running the nutrition program. And I was a client, and Roderick was a trainer, and Adam was doing my nutrition, and we were losing weight and whatever. And I was with them for years and had lost 100 pounds being with Roderick and Adam. And then I was in Florida on vacation with my dad, and Adam sent me a text and said, do you know anyone that would invest in a Broadway show? I'm a school teacher. I don't have $1 million. Yeah. But I know Adam's heart, and I know how he feels about art, and I know what his intentions are to create art and that are alternate voices and viewpoints that are important. He said, there's a show called The Inheritance, and I think it's really important. And it's a big jump that it's a 2-part play that is, 56 hours long. That does not involve animated characters singing. So or Harry Potter. So I said to him, well, if you're doing it, I'll read the show and I'll get back to you. And a couple of us shared a share, and I learned, and for me, it was about just being a part of learning about something new. It doesn't matter if the show made money. It doesn't matter if the show wins Best Play at the Tony Awards in September or whenever they're going to be. So. I hope so for him too. I just felt like I will learn something from this experience. And I was able to go to opening night and go to the party and tell Matthew Lopez how much it meant to me. And it's a surreal thing. And when you really sit back to go back to you, to say to you as an old alumni of William Patterson who's trying to figure his own way out, truly, Rye, this one step that you took starting the show or starting this production company, a year from now, it's going to bring you somewhere else, and then somewhere else, and then somewhere else. And for me, it went from being a school teacher to trying to do my show, to trying to go to acting school, to trying to be an actor, to I'll do my show here, and I'll do it at the Triad, and then the Triad will bring me to LA, and LA will bring me to 54 Below, and then I'll have a host a show, and then I'll put out an album, etc. It is all like one little step that led to something greater. So everyone out there, the trick is just doing the work and not giving up. That's it. Just doing the work. Right. So I will advocate, and anyone that, I told Adam, and I've told Matt, and I've told everyone that has helped me. If I could put $5 or to something that is helping somebody else out there get their viewpoint across, that's what excites me about the future of theater in New York and the world, really.
Well, I love that. We'll have to talk more about that when we turn off, because for sure. But I hope something comes more of that show. I mean, whether it's a tour, I know there was talk of like an LA version or a Boston version, but now like with COVID and like even like Harry Potter's coming back, but Harry Potter's coming back in one part.
Yes.
So, will there be a world where an inheritance happens in the next year? I hope so. But I said to myself, and looking at it, I think it would make a great Netflix series or any streaming service series.
Well, that's what I said.
It's 7 hours, so you take, an hour. I mean, you rewrite about, you take an hour each, you make it into an hour episode. I
agree.
Series, because it's just too good to just. I
completely agree. It's such a saga, and it's such an important story. It's an LGBT plus story, but it's just a story of it. It's important. It's an important story to be told, and a lot of people that went and saw it learned something about the culture and about the history. So I think that it's an important. It's definitely an important story to be told, and nothing excites me more than with this past year and all of the. To be honest, there was a lot of conversations that me and Lee had behind the scenes. It was hard to promote Broadway when a lot of what Broadway and the bureaucracy and the politics of it this past year had come out that made it very uncomfortable. And a place for us to sit and say, well, we're going to promote a show. And I hope that the people that have produced the show and are in charge of the show handle the actors and the subject matter properly. It makes me really excited when I look at the shows that are reopening and seeing all of the directors and writers of color and Broadway stars of color and the shows, the plays and musicals of color that are going to be made. Makes me really excited for the future of theater. Same. And I give a lot of credit to the people like the Broadway Advocacy Coalition and all of the, Amber and Adrian Warren and all of the people that really fought the fight and Eden and everyone that was out there on the forefront to fight for equality, it is so important. So I'm proud to now say I can't wait for Broadway to open, because I think that they're making steps forward to progress. So, well, this was a little part of that. Then that makes me happy that the couple bucks I saved, went to, I don't know, buying a costume. I have no idea.
I'll be honest with you. That is a dream cast reunion for me right there. The cast of The Inheritance, because even some of the their biggest motto, which was heal or burn. That could be even used for this past year. With everything going on, we can either heal or burn.
Absolutely.
So many good things, but that's a reunion that I would love to do. Because it is such a beautiful show and to reunite everyone. But
they act their teeth out. They're amazing.
They are so good. Well, as we finish up here, what advice do you have for aspiring performers who might have dreams that maybe went a different way than they thought, or didn't necessarily, and not that it's a bad thing, but didn't have the career path they wanted, but it's turned to they've been able to do their career but also do something else. What are your advice do you have for them?
I think that when I was in the middle of counseling in this crisis of coming out and changing careers and trying to figure out who and what I was, my therapist said to me, you don't have to give something up. You could have it all. And I didn't get it, because I thought no, you can't. And I don't think it may not be what you think it's going to be, but if you really make the intentions and take that step forward, I really think you can figure out a way to have it all. It may not be the way you thought of it as a kid. It definitely isn't for me, but I was able to create a career as an educator and also have a career in entertainment. And sometimes it just takes a big leap. So my question is, my advice is always try to find out what you are good at that makes you stand out and really lean into it. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to try and fail. Don't be afraid to have a point of view and be authentic and original in who you are. And people will be attracted to that. I never made traction as an artist, as a recording artist, as an actor, as a singer, as a host, nothing until I was authentically who I am. All the years I tried to hide who I was, all the years I didn't tell my own truth, I never made that connection. Now, what comes from the heart goes to the heart. So just being who you are, I think, is what it resonates. So I hope that people can just try to feel comfortable in who they are and just share that with the world, because that's what's going to make the connection to people.
I totally agree. Before we sign off here, where can we follow you? Where can we keep up with you? Let's have it.
Well, you can go to robertbannon.com. I'm robertbannon.com. There you go. He's a pro. He's a producer. You can go to robertbannon.com and you can see the virtual show. You can see the links to stream the album. You can see my get tickets for LA or New York. Or if you want to go to Instagram, someone in the United States took Robert Bannon. With 22 followers? Who are they? Give it back. It's Robert M. Bannon. If you want to follow me on IG, so Robert M. Bannon, I'll chat and post, and you can send a message, and I'll say hey, and you can see what I'm up to on there. So I hope that the journey. We'll have more shows. We'll have more cast reunions. I have more live shows coming up. We just booked a show at the end of August in New Jersey. So if you want to come along for the ride, then follow me on IG or at robertbannon.com.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Robert, thank you so much for your time, for talking with me. This has been so thrilling and so rewarding. So I love doing things like this. And
I am so grateful for the opportunity, and I'm really proud of your journey. The best is yet to come for you. I'm really excited to see where it goes. And I'm looking forward to seeing you continue to just crush it out here.
Oh, well, thank you.